Hello, my online community. Thank you for joining me for another Walking in the Vineyard. I'm Stephen Yandell. Today, I was working out in my garden, and some of the raised flower beds that I had planted, there was a lot of weeds that had grown up. And honestly, I've been kind of busy with work, and I had neglected my garden. And by doing so, like I say, all these weeds were growing up. Well, I had some time today and got out in the garden and was pulling weeds. And man, it was a hard job because if you're not careful when you're pulling the weeds out, the roots had taken such a hold in the soil that if I hadn't been careful, I would have pulled out the plants that I was trying to save and protect. It kind of reminded me of the passage in Matthew 13 talking about the parable of the sower and the seed. And the parts in particular, verse 7, it talks about the seed was thrown in the thorns. And the seed that was thrown in the thorns, it was choked out. It couldn't grow. And the plants died because they didn't have any nourishment. Everything that they needed to survive was being taken by the thorns, by the weeds. And that's exactly what was happening in my garden. The harvest that came was from the good soil that didn't have any weeds, it didn't have any rocks. And if you want to check out that passage again, it's in Matthew 13. It's a fantastic passage. But in our lives, it's the same way. You know, we plant seeds, and with our finances, with our prayers, with our time, with our energy and our efforts, our talents. And it all depends on where you're putting your seed. Where are you putting your seed? I'm not just with you, but with your family in mind. Sometimes our best intentions, just like with my garden, whenever I planted it, there were no weeds there, but the weeds sprouted up because I was neglecting time. And if we're not careful, we can do the same thing. If we neglect the time in our relationships with our spouses, our children, and of course our relationship with God, if you're neglecting time with Him, man, how easy is it for the weeds to come up? And you know what? What it took for me is to getting on my knees and doing some dirty work and really getting in there and getting those weeds out. And that's the same thing with your spiritual walk. It takes getting on your knees, humbling yourself, and getting some work, and let God do the work in you. And you know what? He so wants to. He loves you. He wants the very best for you. And I just want to challenge you this week. No matter what you think your garden, no matter what it looks like, trust Him. You may have weeds there. You may have not as many seeds as what you thought because something has come in and taken them. But allow the master gardener, a Father that loves you so much, allow Him to do a work in you, because He will. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.